Hello and welcome to A Life of Creation. My name is Chad and I'm the host of this channel. If you like what you've seen so far, please like and subscribe. Hit the notification button so you know when I release new stuff. Today we are talking to Devin McGovern, who is a social media content creator. I started following him when he was doing a lot of men's fashion stuff, but now he is focusing on kind of the humorous side of being a parent in the 40s with two small kids. And that is something I am currently doing as well. So I find his videos pretty hilarious because I relate a lot to him. He's going to answer the 10 questions today. So let's hear his answers. Just use an overlay. Jump into the 10 questions.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's jump into the 10 questions.
Welcome to Life of Creation. I'm here with Devin, and he is answering the 10 questions. So we'll start with question one. What does it mean to you to live a life of creation?
What does it mean to me? I think it means being creative and true to who you are, true to what your creativity is, and constantly finding ways to be creative. I think there's always an opportunity. Like we've said, as you become a parent, there's ways to be creative. I think there's always ways to continue to tap into your creativity and stay true to that.
Yeah. And I think you, especially as a content creator, you're coming up with ideas on the spot sometimes. Just like inspiration hits and you have the ability to just I know what I need to make it happen because I know what I'm editing it. And so are you able to really just once inspiration hits, just jump on it and go with it?
No, I got to write it down
Okay.
because of kids. I've got to write it down.
Right.
Um, but that's just always how even before kids, even if I had something, I would write it down, um, and do it later. I don't know, it's just something about putting it down, letting it kind of marinate, figure out exactly that all the pieces to it, and then do it, you know.
Okay.
Sometimes it's like, oh, if it's I guess that's the issue with social. It becomes trending. It becomes like you have to do it. That's where
Right.
like the adrenaline, that's where it's going to get scary when our kids are going to be on social. That's a whole other topic. But sometimes there's the moments of like, you got to hit it. You got to do it now. And I will. I'll just do that where I'm like,
Right.
let me figure out a spin on this. There was a football one that my wife and I did where we did a spin off of it and it made sense. We didn't want to copy it, but we did our own little spin that it had to be done fairly soon. We
Right.
couldn't sit on it because it was the start of the football season. I had to withhold her Amazon packages to talk about how excited she was for football. But yeah, it was a takeoff of somebody else's, and we wanted to put our spin and needed to get out there.
Right. Do you carry around a little like notebook or something then?
Just notes on my phone,
Okay.
the notes app.
Yeah, I have a notebook and I'm always like, yeah, I have a notebook. I'm gonna use it. I don't use it that often.
I do same. When I was in an office, I had a notebook that I would write, and then I realized I wasn't bringing it with me. I didn't have it. We would go into an edit bay, and I'm like, ugh, just put it on my phone.
Yeah. One day I'll get there.
Exactly.
Question two. I think most people view creators based on their end results and don't really see what all goes into the creation. Based on what you do, what are some things that are crucial to your creation that most people never see?
I think being on, all sides of it, I don't think anything because if somebody's choosing to either spend their time or money to consume your end product, it doesn't really matter what went into it.
Right.
Like I don't need anyone to know how many challenges or how hard it was or went into it. If you're consuming the end product and using your time or money, then that's kind of the what I look forward to. You can share about the process, but I'm not like, oh, they need to know this because most people don't care. They just
Right.
want to know. Sometimes they do, that's kind of why reality TV took off because
Right.
people want to know what was real. And then they realize, well, that's not that real. And now we're on to like TikTok is more real.
Right.
Um, so people just want to see like the real, not necessarily like what went into the creative. They just want to
Right.
be Are you not yet entertained? They just want to be entertained.
Right. Yeah. When I look at, especially in like Instagram and stuff, I don't think, ooh, I wonder how they did this too often. Being a photographer, I sometimes like the behind the scenes photo ones just because I'm like, how did they light it? But anything else, I'm like, whatever. I just want to see what the end result for sure.
Right, right,
What you do, I don't think people realize how much is involved. Like, I was saying earlier that, I wanted to be an influencer at some point. Like, I did men's clothes for a little bit. I did coffee whiskey account. I think I did another one too. And it's just like, this is so much work.
right,
I gave it up.
right,
But I see, I kind of like the idea too. What you're saying, it's just, it doesn't matter. If you like it, you like it.
right.
And I mean, it kind of keeps it mysterious and kind of romantic, and you can romanticize how it all went down, or you can, create this image in your head of like, oh man, they must have did this and that.
Right.
Keep them guessing.
And I think maybe that's me coming from like a production world, a production background where it takes much longer to make a television series. We're shooting, 5 days a week, 5 or 6 cameras, shoot for 5 days, 8 hours a day. You're editing for, 4 to 6 weeks. Then it goes through like 2 or 3 rounds of notes. And then by the end, you're like, was it all better because of all that? Whereas, like, I went to the Rivian dealership, came up with the idea, we shot it, I edited it, and it was posted. Like, if I had spent 2 more days, would it have been better? Would it have
Right.
got more view? Like, maybe, probably
Right.
not. And that's kind of, I feel like, the whole production process and why it's kind of getting, you know, it's not as relevant anymore. Because, like, why is a show going to be noted by 5 people 2 or 3 different times? Is it making it better? No, you're just burning through money. Like,
Right.
it's not going to get you 100,000 more views. It's just like going to keep somebody's job for a little bit. So, like, what goes into it? I'm used to just wasted time of what goes into it, wasted hours. So many, like, just like because you had to be there at a certain time there, because somebody had to note the show. So what goes into it, if you wanted to know what goes into that, it's a lot of wasted time and money. Whereas
Yeah.
what goes into what I do, it feels like a lot of work, but like I said, came up with the idea, we shot it. Again, I'm doing all of it. I'm not setting up lighting. I don't have to book a location. I don't have
Right.
to get a permit to shoot. So it is a little bit easier, and then I control all the content.
Right.
Good or bad. If it does great, great. It's on me that I get 8.5 million views. If it doesn't do great, I'm on to the next one.
Right.
Whereas, TV episode, if it doesn't do great, you put 6, 8, 9 weeks into it, and then it doesn't air again for another week. And you may have lost that person. I could post a video tomorrow. If somebody didn't like my car video today, I'll post something
Right.
tomorrow that I'll learn from it and make it funny. But I don't think that they're gonna care about the process because it'll look essentially like it looked.
Right.
Shooting it, we had some fun. I edited it, and let's all enjoy it.
Right. Yeah, I could tell that you've had a lot of history in the production side of
Yeah, yeah,
on set stuff.
right.
I feel that way at photo shoots sometimes, and it's like we've been here like 3 hours and haven't done anything. The lights have been up for 2 hours. You're just kind of waiting at that point.
Right, right,
My assistant's over in the corner taking a nap. I'm wishing I was over there taking a nap. you
exactly.
know, you're like, there's not enough good food at the craft table,
Right.
or you already ate it all. All those things. I don't think people realize how much waiting around is for some of these shoots.
Yeah.
We have a freelancer that shoots for us and assisted us a lot. And, he still does freelance stuff for with other people as assistant. And most of the time he's like, yeah, we're there 8 hours. The talent was on set for 15 minutes.
Wow.
He's like, so it's an overnight shoot. I should be fine to come in and work the next morning because I'll probably, sleep in the corner for, a few hours. Question 3. Do you believe you need to be passionate about what you create?
I think so. I mean, I think you should be passionate about anything. I think passion evolves,
Right.
and you have to find, it's just like being a parent. There's the passion and the love behind, and sometimes it's not when you're trying to put them to bed and it's 9:30. Does it mean you've lost the passion? Maybe in that moment, but it's still there. And I think that's kind of like the creative process.
Yeah.
When you're on hour 12 of a photo shoot, is the passion there? Probably not
Yeah.
at the moment, but it's there in general. And I think that's what continues, why we have the creative arts. But I also think that's why we've also seen struggles in what is being consumed out there because the passion is being overtaken by, money,
Right.
which I get. You can't just be making art and no one's making any money because it's got to come from somewhere. But I think sometimes it gets lost and the passion is like, I'm just gonna do it. Just do it
Right.
for the paycheck. But I think yes, the passion should be there, but it evolves. It can't always be there. It has to kind of change and eventually it evolves into something else, or you kind of change your perspective on what is the passion behind it still mean.
Right. Yeah, you kind of made me think of something. I was talking to a friend. We knew each other from high school, and he was into punk and hardcore like I was and stuff. And he was saying how in that world you could sniff out the people who weren't authentic. And he's like, you would see him come and pretty quickly leave because everyone just knew they weren't legit.
Right,
I think that might be kind of the passion side too, where as creatives, people are going to sniff out the people who don't really care about what they do,
right,
and they're not going to be as successful. I mean, sometimes, there's people who hate what they do but are successful,
right,
but I think people will generally gravitate to those who you could tell they're authentic about what they're doing.
right.
And passion and authenticity kind of tend to go hand in hand.
Yeah, agreed.
And I think that's why yours resonates. You are literally living it and you're just filming it kind of a thing.
Right, right, exactly.
And it's like you're almost like your mental health is like, I need to make this funny or else I'm going to scream my head off.
Right, exactly.
So let's just have fun with it and, shine light on parenthood and the struggles that are real.
Right, right. I totally agree.
Question 4. I don't think your creation has to be good to grow from it. What are some things you create that you might not consider great, but something that you still gain the value from the act of creating? And do you have words of encouragement for those who get discouraged when their creations fall short of their expectations?
I think you got to just start. You got to start somewhere. I think we get wrapped up too much and especially now with social media that creative and creation requires a bunch of people to approve it in likes or eyeballs or box office tickets. it requires a bunch of people to say your creation was good. So it discourages a lot of people from even trying.
Right.
But I think if, like we were just saying in the last one, if you're authentic to yourself, then there's no need to compare your creative to anyone else's.
Right.
You know what? My creative is authentic to myself. Do I find some other people that have done a similar thing or even, done exact same thing funnier than mine? Yeah. I was like, oh man, these guys are funny. This is funnier.
Right.
But the creative arts is so subjective.
Right.
I mean, all we have to do is look at like the Oscars to see like what is the best thing. And it's not, there's no one person that, even though they said that whatever this movie was the best movie, it didn't even make that as much money as the other one. So like
Right.
it got nominated by a group of people that they thought it was the best. And they thought it was better than a whole bunch of the country that thought this movie was the best because they spent their money on it.
Right.
So I think we just get too wrapped up into like, what are other people going to think on this and is it good enough? I think you just have to start. As
Yeah.
long as you're authentic to yourself and you start and you enjoy creating it, then if you enjoy it, then maybe someone will see that passion, as we were just talking about,
Right.
and enjoy it as well. And what is great and not great? It's very subjective.
Right. You know, you said something important is like you just got to start and you got to do it. And I think, like my YouTube channel now, I don't know what I'm doing half the time, but I'm trying and I'm going to fail a lot, but I'm going to learn and just like keep hopefully, get better over time. And I'm sure you when you first started social media made a lot of mistakes and you just kind of learned and grew as you kind of figured it out. But the important thing is you started and you started learning the things that you were lacking in or you needed to figure out in order to do what you do. And I think that's really what's important is just for people to understand it's like you're not going to be good when you start. No one really is. Just be willing to put in the time and the energy to, learn from those mistakes.
Right, right.
Question 5. Not all creators would consider themselves artistic. Do you believe you have to be artistic to live a life of creation?
I don't think so. I think you are, again, it's subjective. I think there are very artistically talented creatives, and then there are those that take what talent they have and use that creative to be their creation. Yeah, there are certain things that take a more artistic skill, but there are some that either you can bring what you're good at and team up with those people. That's what's great about the whole creative process. It's not, you don't have to do it by yourself. You can find out what you're good at as you learn and team up with somebody that you feel is more artistically creative in a certain area, and you guys work together and you know, make it great. So sometimes those are the best ones because you've got somebody that can see somebody's talent that is like struggling with, say, the business side of something, that the show business, and you find ways to work together. And I think that's something that not enough creatives do, seek out other creatives to work with. Sometimes you find it as a competing ground
Right.
than a collaborative.
Yeah, definitely. I think the most successful artists probably have a really good business mind behind them
Right. Yeah, exactly.
or marketing or, all the things that most artists aren't very good at, you know.
Right.
Um I talked to a guy in a band and he said the beauty of a band is, you come together, create your art, but usually you have different guys who are good at different things. So you say, okay, you're in charge of that part. You're in charge of that part. You're artistic. Why don't you do the logo and the layout? But so you have these people who can do these things, but then still come together and actually create art together as well.
Right. Right.
I think it's good to play to your strengths and seek out the help that you need that isn't one of your weaknesses.
Yeah.
Question 6. Is there an experience or a time in your life where you realized you were a creator?
I think probably I played basketball like I mentioned earlier most of my life, and I had done a Shakespeare class and we did a play in high school. It was first time experience with theater. I was mostly into sports compared to my girls who are doing 1 to 2 shows a day for us in the living room. That was not me. I was usually playing basketball. So I had done a play at King Lear in high school, and I was like, oh, this is an interesting creative like light bulb that came on that I have never used this muscle before, and I enjoy it. And this is a fun experience creating this. Again, grew up watching movies, watch TV,
Right.
enjoying it as a participant, and then doing it, I was like, this is a creative that I've never experienced before. And that was kind of the beginning of let's eventually make my way out to Hollywood.
It's crazy what the impact something in our childhood can have that just sends us on to directory to, wherever we're supposed to end up in life.
Right.
Question 7. Was there a family member or friend encouraging you to pursue your passion for creation?
I think, most recently probably would just be, my wife who's a creative. She's a did musical theater in college. She toured with the Broadway musical Mamma Mia. She's very creative. So I think the continuation of being around somebody that's creative, I think just always spurs creativity. Then my kids, so creative. They're such little musical theater kids. It just kind of pushes all of us and to be creative. Again,
Right.
when you're surrounded by creatives, it also forces you to be even more creative to get everyone to kind of do what they need to do sometimes. Because the problem with a bunch of creatives is that everyone kind of just does what they want to do. You know, I still also like, even though I'm a creative mind, I still like a little bit of order. Still like, so that it kind of also pushes your creative juices boundary when everyone around you is just like, I'm gonna create, just to live in a world of creation.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be a running joke in my videos about artists, and if there was only artists in the world, could you imagine the roads that they would make?
Oh, for sure.
You're
For
like,
sure.
it'd take you
Roads to
forever.
make. Yeah,
Yeah.
they wouldn't even get to making it probably.
Like we feel like we should go this way now. We should go this way. Like
Right.
but we also say like how cool of a journey would that be? It'd be, you'd experience nature, you'd experience, the terrain as it should be, and
Right.
there'd be a lot of cool things to it, but it made your 1 hour trip may take you a full day.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
You mentioned enjoying some order. Now, do you find yourself now that you're getting like as you get older wanting more and more kind of organization? Because I think that's something I'm seeing in myself. Like I was so kind of chaotic as a younger person, and now I'm like, I like spreadsheets. I like to know schedules and stuff like that too.
I've never been that like chaotic, so I think it's the same amount of order as always. It's just requiring other people to buy into said order
Right,
of there are people that are waiting on us because we have a school time,
right.
and that is the time to get on your and get out the door. But so no, I don't think as I get older, I want more order. More order in the sense that you're just dealing with more people. So there needs to be a teeny bit more order in order for us to get out the door.
Right.
to things that require us to be there, like school or dance or whatever it may be.
Yeah. I feel you on that one. We told you an hour ago that we need to leave in 45 minutes.
Right.
Why are you still in your PJs?
Exactly.
See, this is why I can relate so much to your videos. I feel it so deep. Because I am in the thick of it a lot.
Yeah.
Question 8. Where do you find inspiration? And do you have a creative process that you follow once inspiration hits?
I find inspiration in the same way that I previously when I was, acting, I found inspiration in the movies and acting and in the medium that you're focused on, inspiration within that. Because if you understand it, then you're able to better serve that medium and create what other people are wanting to see. So, when I was producing reality TV, I was watching similar shows, similar makeover, restoration, restaurant makeover shows to understand what works, what doesn't work, and be inspired by that. So, currently I find my inspiration on social media a lot.
Right.
And then also in the world, when you have kids, you realize you're out a lot, you're at the park or you're at the mall or I don't know, you're picking up Chick-fil-A again for the third time. We don't need it that much, but I find inspiration in just seeing how other people deal with their families, how they go through life, and inspiration just in the daily activities. And then the process is, I write it down. That's funny. This is something that could be, and then go back to it to see if there's something there. Many times, because a lot of my TV producing world was post-production, I like putting the pieces together. So, many times I'll just kind of have to shoot it, edit it, see if it works, run it by my wife. We kind of bounce it back and forth and then tweak it or say, no, that's not as funny. That wasn't, or, sometimes the network notes of my wife, it's not funny at all. And then go back to the drawing board, start with something new or tweak it if there's still if I still find this is something that is still funny, I still find something in there and find a way to make it work. But just kind of putting it, the great thing because I've learned these skills and the time and the abilities, you can just kind of put it into the phone and see if it works. I
Right.
don't need 2 weeks of editing and relying on a whole bunch of other people to edit it and waiting on music and graphics in order to see if something works. So I'll just do it myself in a day. Did it work? Great. Post it, write about it. Didn't work. Go back to the drawing board.
Right. I feel like social media, we do a lot of social media content as well at work. And, it's so fast that, like you were saying, if a video falls flat, doesn't matter. You'll just be posting the next one soon anyway. You can basically just learn as you go.
Right.
You have up to date live tracking of how well that video did,
Right.
and then you can learn from it and then go on to the next one and everything. So, I mean, I feel like that could be slightly overwhelming on one hand because it's like it is so instant, but there's so much forgiveness too because you can kind of move on if something didn't work.
Right. Right.
It almost gives you the freedom to just try something.
Right.
You're like, this sounds funny to me. Let's go for it. And then, okay, apparently that's not funny. Let's move on to something else.
Yeah, yeah. And then, my production background, sometimes you get hung up on it being perfect with stuff.
Right.
I have since gotten over the world of jump cuts, but I know initially when you're in that, you're like watching these videos and you're like, what? You're just like cutting between yourself? No one cares.
Right.
Is the material funny? Is it good? Even I don't know if sometimes if people do it intentionally or whether it's just accidental and happens, like they misspell words and
Right.
but like people are so forgiving. Is it funny? Does it matter if it's misspelled and not? Like we're not judging people I also think, we judge, we all felt so judged in school and A's and B's, and this had to be right, and there was no other way to it. And then you're like, there is other ways to it.
Yeah.
We were told that you would never have a calculator. You better figure this out. And here we are in our mid 40s with a calculator in our pocket forever,
Right.
forever. And that, so I think a lot of stuff that we as older generation, I say older because we are older, felt like it was not forgiving and had to be perfect is like it doesn't have to be perfect. It's a misspelled word. So
Right.
what?
Yeah.
Do you know what we're trying to convey? Did you laugh? Was it funny? Did it move you? Was it emotional? Then get over if it was misspelled. We'll
Right.
spell it right tomorrow.
Right.
It's not a big deal. So you kind of it is very forgiving sometimes at times where you're like, on to the next then.
Yeah.
Keep creating the content. It's similar to the sports world. Did you miss a shot? Okay. Are you gonna go sit on the bench? Is that it? Is your career over? Are you done? No, you shoot again. You're
Right.
gonna you're gonna miss 30%, 40% of the shots you put up anyways, and still be called an all-star.
Right.
That's kind of like what this is in social media. If you hit 60 to 70% of your videos or top views, then you'd be crushing it. You'd be top in the social media world. So you just, it's a numbers game just like sports.
Right.
But like for a brand, it's less forgiving. If you
Yeah.
spend a lot of money for a photo shoot and you get the product right, all the language has to be right. Usually it's, you're pushing out a new product. It's less forgiving when a brand is doing a campaign than it is for like a content creator like myself.
Right.
And we're also accustomed to be less forgiving because we know how much money goes into making sure this food product looks like it's never looked before. Those fries have never looked like this. So we aren't forgiving when there's mess ups there. And you see, and they
Right.
get a lot of, the whole cancel culture.
Right. Question 9. Not everyone gets paid to create something they are passionate about, but where do you see the value in people still pursuing their passions, even if they aren't getting paid for it? And how can you encourage others to live a life of creation, even when their creations seem to go unnoticed?
I think similar like we talked about, you just got to start. If somebody finds value in it, then they'll eventually pay you for it. Um, and that's all it is. If you've got a passion behind it, and it can be anything from art, art, you create that art and no one likes it, and then all of a sudden the right person pops on your Instagram or they walk into a gallery and they're like, this is the most amazing thing ever, and boom, Dad Gang, this is a creation of art. I don't know how long it took them before, boom, they popped off and now they're selling hats like crazy. You never know what the catalyst will be. You never know what will happen. And if you have a passion for it, you got to just start and hopefully it takes off. And many times it doesn't.
Right.
Or you course correct or you find another way to tell that story. I had to do that with the social media. I had started as fashion. I thought people were into the men's fashion and denim and boots, and that was, and they were, but it also changed for them as it did for me. We all weren't wearing denim and boots while we were stuck inside or working from home. We weren't putting
Right.
on our boots, where we're sitting behind our desk. So it changed for the audience as well as it changed for the creator.
Right.
And being okay and open to like, hey, listen, if we're going to be creative, then let's find creative ways to change and continue with that passion of creativity.
Right. Yeah, I think ultimately, if you have a desire to create, just do it.
Right.
And then, if you are really stuck on the fact that your things are going unnoticed, you can always either just do it for yourself and be satisfied with that, or try changing up a little bit to see if that makes a difference.
Right. Right.
I mean, it also depends on your end goal, I guess. Some people don't want to share their creations, it's just for them. Or sometimes, you know, they're just not very good.
Right.
And then it goes back to, well, just keep at it, just keep doing it. Eventually, if it's your life's purpose to do that thing, eventually you're going to hone a skill that probably will be noticed.
Right.
If you're not meant to do that, you probably will never ever master it because it's just not in you. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, yeah, true.
Question 10, last one. How would you like to see yourself grow as a creator?
How would I like to see myself grow as a creator? I think what you're talking about here is being relatable, that it cuts deep. You know how this feels to be a dad in the fun moments. Initially when it was like wanting to open up and be more transparent about being, a dad, a modern dad, a dad that's, involved, letting dads know it's okay to be. I know that there's
Right,
still a little bit of a stigma that it's like, moms take care of all that and I'll just do the fun stuff. It's changed a bit, but there also is still like, no, it's okay to take the kids to school. It's okay, dads, to go take them to dance class. If you've got girls, you don't just have to take them to baseball and football. Um, to, let them know that that we can share in the responsibilities of the house. I know my wife may say that, I could do more. I need to learn how to cook, and I'll learn how to cook. And there's always more that we can always learn. But that's the process of it, that you're
right,
letting dads know it's okay. You don't got to just go to work, clock in, do your thing, and let moms do their thing. Because I think it is important in this society for dads to be present.
yeah, definitely.
Um, I think having generations of children where the dads are present, the dads are involved, the dads are loving is a better world.
Yeah,
Um, I find that it's much easier, and we've seen, in society, I don't have the exact numbers, don't quote me on it, but it's much easier for a dad to not have the responsibility to walk away. It's a lot harder for moms. There's a lot more that children actually need mom for from the moment that they come out of the womb. They
right,
need mom's milk. They need mom. They
yeah,
don't need dad. And I find that it's hard for dads to accept that they're not needed, and it's much easier to then not be needed. So having the brand be, hey, dads, we can be dads. We can be present in all the things
right,
and raise these kids up in a way that is very loving, and also let dads know it's okay if it's hard. Don't give up.
right,
It's going to be hard, especially if you're going to be present and help with the house, with the kids, with the family. So it's okay if it's hard. We don't just have to give up and let mom take care of it. And
yeah,
that's kind of, the evolution of where I kind of see Devin the dad, the brand, not just all the funny, but the what does it mean to be a dad?
yeah. I mean, I 100% agree that, there's seems like there's a generation where dads weren't present, and we're seeing the effects of that play out in
Right,
real time. And, being a dad, I have a hard time thinking about how anyone could just walk away from their kid. Um, because it's like I find so much joy and pride in my boys, even when it's hard. And it's like you said, it is hard.
right,
Um, but the reward of being there and seeing their faces light up when, I get home from work or something, it's worth it. It's worth every minute of it. And, you know, I, I think every man could say that, we always have things we need to work on. We're not perfect by any means, but if you are willing to show up and try, just the fact that you're trying is going to be very impactful to your kids and even your significant other,
right.
because they feel seen by you and, loved by you, and they need you to feel like you're part of the team.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I think you doing that message is going to be, it's needed, for one, and I'm right there watching, rooting you on too, because I'm right there with you. So
I appreciate it.